Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and today's podcast on the New Brunswick Independent Authors Association will provide a very interesting preview of a short story collection that our good friend Joan Blake Savoie, of a native of Black Point, New Brunswick, has been working on. It is called Dust in the Lane, and this short story will be part of a proposed collection that Joan says she will be publishing or trying to publish in a short while. Now, Joan has had some success as a nonfiction writer on her book on her father's backyard rink in her hometown. Alison Blake was a great community developer. She wrote a nonfiction book back in the 1990s, which is still considered one of the best historical books written in English in Northern New Brunswick history. Now, this short story title is called Dust in the Lane. She watches, she waits, she hopes. The lane is quiet today. She sees only the rustling grass and the shadow of a barn swallow flying in and out of her nest, built high in the eaves of the old barn. Looking out her kitchen window, her eyes search for dust in the lane, the sign of approaching company. 60 years have passed since she arrived at the old farmhouse back the lane. Full of hopes and dreams, she accompanied her young husband to the house that would become their home. Traveling back the lane on that hot July day in 1912, she did not think about the dust kicked up by the horses' hooves, or the significance the dust would have in building a lifetime of memories. The years passed quickly. Life was busy, very busy. Looking out the window from her rocking chair on this warm summer day, she remembers those years as if they were yesterday. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The life that was growing inside her had a busy night and kept her awake for some time. She lay alone for a few minutes, caressing her belly and feeling the life that stirred within. She felt alive and happy. Her husband had probably finished his early morning barn chores, but she could not pull herself out of bed. Just a few more minutes. That's all she wanted before she, too, went about her daily routine. Sitting at the kitchen table, sipping on her morning tea, she glanced towards the windows that gave her a view of the barn and the lane that wound its way to the main road. She smiled to herself as she watched her husband open the barn door leading into the chicken coop. Seeing him in his work clothes always made her body tingle. The hat with the wide brim, the shirt with the sleeves rolled up past his elbows, exposing arms that were strong and bronzed by the sun. Pants held up with gray suspenders and black barn boots that protected his feet made her fall in love with him every time she saw him. Watching him go about his work, she pictured the child she was carrying, walking beside this man, the man she called husband, the man soon to be called father. Finishing off her tea, she started clearing the breakfast dishes when suddenly she heard a noise at the front door. "May, come out here. I want to show you something." Her husband's voice came through the screen door. What was he up to, she wondered. Walking towards the door, she could see the shadow of something moving in the breeze. "Do you like it?" he asked. "I made it with wood from the old oak tree that was blown down by last month's storm." She just stood there. It was magnificent. "I thought you might need a big rocking chair when the baby comes." He looked at her. Extending out his hand, he smiled at her and said, "Please sit. Try it out." A lump came to her throat. She had never seen anything so beautifully crafted. Little animals were carved into the wood. She could see every detail. The lambs feeding from their mothers, the hen with the chicks, and the sleeping calf sheltered by its mother. Slowly, she sat down. The shape of the chair was smooth and polished. As she rocked, it moved gracefully under her body. She felt embraced by the chair. She felt protected by its large arms. Looking up at her husband, she took his hand, kissed it, and then whispered, "Thank you." She closed her eyes and thought about the baby as he kicked and rolled within the protection of her womb. She was lucky to have such a compassionate and loving husband. He would be a good father. That evening, as she finished off the dinner dishes, she felt the first pain. "I think the baby's coming," she called out to her husband. "You better go in the village and fetch Dr. Bonnard." The contractions were now closer and closer. She paced back and forth in the kitchen, looking out the window towards a lane for a sign. Hours had passed and still no sign of her husband. Why was it taking them so long? With the contractions only minutes apart, she knew the baby's birth was near. Where can they be? She thought aloud. Maybe the doctor was out. Maybe something had happened. She tried to stay focused. If only they did not live so far off the main road, she could have gone to the doctor's home. She continued to watch and wait. Finally, she saw it. The dust. The doctor was on his way. Thank goodness, she sighed. Seeing the dust fly in the lane comforted her. Another contraction. This time a smile came to her face. She felt prepared. Help was now at hand as the dust cloud drew closer and closer to her home. That was an excerpt from the short story Dust in the Lane by Black Point, New Brunswick native Joan Blake Savoie. This will be part of a proposed short story collection that Joan will be working on over the next few months. She is a new member to the New Brunswick Independent Authors Association. We're very glad to have her talent as part of our group. She has been a long-time supporter of the arts, not only in New Brunswick but across Canada, and we welcome any person to contact her on Facebook to share your thoughts on this podcast. And because this podcast will appear on my podcast channel, JJ Coveter Corey, we always like to say, please give a like, a comment, or subscribe. And if you like Joan's work, please let her know. And she is an extremely talented writer. And again, her style is one that comes after a number of years of devotion to her craft, like most writers in the New Brunswick Independent Authors Association. We are a diverse association with different types of creators, but like Joan, we all love the word. Have a good evening. Bye.